So what did you think of the debate? You watched it live, I assume?
I watched the second half of it live. Oh man. Oh man. Oh man. Those are our
The
options.
second half, it devolved. I mean, not to say that it was good, because nobody liked it. I understand that. But like,
No. Well, and that's good
yeah,
though,
yeah.
actually. Finally, we could
Yeah,
agree on something,
hey, we're
right?
bringing the whole country together.
Bravo.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
Finally, we can
exactly.
agree.
No, I started right from the beginning, and I was like shocked at how good it was going. I really was.
Mm,
I mean, everybody knows that Trump talks over. He comes off as a bully because
right.
he is.
Yeah.
You know, and Biden. Um, he had moments of clarity, and then
Yep.
yeah, in the beginning, and then I just think it like
Right.
he started to unravel a little bit, and I think Trump did unravel. I think he did, because at the
Oh
end he
yeah.
just kept repeating and repeating the same stuff. I was very disappointed in that. There was one question in particular that I
Yeah.
really wanted to know the answer to, which you and I have talked about before. Jokingly said that like somebody should run on a platform that childcare is an issue, single parenting, etc. And Trump did not answer that question. That was the one I really wanted to hear about. What would you do with regarding childcare at this point?
Right.
And nothing. He just went back to the rhetoric a little bit.
All right, and a lot of it were, the lies that he's been
Yeah.
telling that, he now believes.
So
I mean, they were arguing over golf at one
that
point.
was great. I saw a comment on that. That was great.
Yeah.
Somebody said,
This is what we're
yeah,
doing?
somebody said, and I thought this was so on point, and I don't know who said it. I'm sorry for stealing it, but it was that is the most elitist argument I've ever seen,
Mm.
ever. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's exactly how it came off. It did.
Yeah, so there's this comedian, Chris Vanjola, and Chris Vanjola, he was on, Chelsea Lately, and he put it so brilliantly. He watched the debate and he was like, yeah, we gotta start taking care of ourselves, guys. If these are our options, honestly, what I'm gonna do, like, I'm walking down the street and I see trash, I'm picking it up
Hey,
and I'm throwing it out. And I see someone that needs help, I'm helping them, because these are our
yeah,
options. And if we're relying on these
yeah,
guys, we are all
yep.
screwed. So we are now in self-defense
Mhm.
mode, and we have to defend for ourselves if this is what, yeah, and it was
I'm
so on
voting for
point
him.
because yeah, honestly, and his
Oh,
beautiful teeth, because they're
oh, well,
perfect.
that's a
I'm
plus.
like, yes,
Yeah,
yeah, you see garbage on the side of the road, pick it up, because you're on
yeah,
your own.
yeah.
Oh my
No, I
gosh,
agree. I agree.
scary.
I say this much. I will say this much. I think that this is the best reason to start remembering local government. Like, and the bottom line is
Honestly,
like the presidency. Okay, yeah, we talk about it a lot,
it
but
matters so
yeah, no,
little,
it doesn't. We argue about it a lot,
so
but like
little.
the person, your mayor, your whoever's in your village, trustees,
Mm-hmm.
your
Thank you.
whoever. I mean, I started following them on Facebook because I just wasn't getting local news. I never hear about it, so I
Right.
started following like a couple of the Orange County places, people rather, and I'm like, hey, you don't hear this. If you don't follow them,
No.
nobody's telling you. Nobody's telling you.
Well, and that's a lot of it too with the presidency as well. A lot of the Biden followers, the hardcore old people that follow
Uh-huh.
Biden, they only see what they're seeing on certain news
Mhm.
channels. So they're not
Yep.
seeing him stumbling over his
Right.
words and not forming
Right.
sentences and tripping over his own feet and standing still,
Yep.
stuttering, and like they're not seeing
Right.
those
Right.
things. And it is so important for the local
And
government.
as far as Biden's performance at the debate, I'm gonna be honest with you, I have seen way worse from him. Way
Oh,
the
oh,
fact
for
that they then
sure.
come out, everybody from everywhere comes out then and says, "Hey, we don't think he should be the president." The Democratic Party is now saying, "Oh, we should rethink this." Apparently, they can't. But that
No,
wasn't the
well,
worst performance. I actually was.
no. That was pretty typical,
I thought it
actually.
was better than some. I definitely seen worse, from him. So
Yeah.
Go figure, right?
I mean, it's unfortunate because what we needed in our president was when Trump was, saying the rhetoric, saying all these lies, was for him in those moments to say, "Excuse me, no, that is not correct." But because he is in the capacity that he's in, he
All
can't.
right, so
He just can't take those
no,
lies
he can't
and
expand on
change.
it. So one of the things that I guess right, there was no notes, right? There was no notes, and that was one of the.
Right,
I actually want to just real quick on the rules. I heard a lot of people that are like hardcore Republicans, like really, really like conservative, that were like, "Oh, this is to hurt Trump," and the whole time I was like, "Yeah, that's that. I don't think that's going to hurt Trump. I think that's great. I am a Republican
right,
typically, and I'm not necessarily a Trump fan. That's a little bit outside the range, but um, I didn't think it was going to hurt him. I was like, I want to hear what everyone has to say. I actually want to hear the debate, and
right,
to that point, the rules really worked for him. It really worked for him. He sounded so like presidential for a moment or two, not a lot of
right.
moments.
And there are still his supporters that believe everything that he
Hmm.
says and think that he's the guy and that he's gonna
Right.
save us and he's gonna take us over
Yeah.
the edge and we're gonna win. So, it didn't really hurt
Right.
him
So
much. I mean, luckily people did open their eyes and say, "Whoa, both of these are our
yeah,
options. No,
I
please
think
stop.
that
Yeah, we need
happened. I
somebody
think
else."
that happened, but I do
Thankfully.
think that he came off really, really. He came off very good. Trump did, and so to that point, just to play devil's advocate, tell me about the lies, because that's what I can't wrap my head
Well
around. What were the lies?
well, like, certain states that would allow abortion of babies after
So now,
birth.
and
That does not
so
happen.
there was a very specific incident he was naming. It was Virginia, and it was a specific individual, and I did not get a chance to look that up. I don't know if you're familiar
Mhm.
with that at all. I want to know if there's any grain of truth in there. I mean, was it completely made up? I don't know. That was one of the things that I wanted to
Well,
check out.
there are laws against late-term abortion, obviously. And we also know that our tax dollars do not go towards abortion. And, there are cases of abortion where, the baby does survive. So maybe that was the case he's referring to. I don't know. I didn't look into it either. There were fact checks from whatever news sources that were saying this was a lie, that was a lie, here, that, this, that, and the
Yeah.
third.
Is it like this is our first podcast together? So is it inappropriate for me to pop on and take a look at some of the lies that?
I
All
don't
right, let
think
me
so.
let me do that. I gotta move things around a little bit. Hold on. All right, let's
This is what it's called.
because that's what I want to know, right? Like I.
I mean, the January 6th stuff, I don't even care about, honestly. Like, I'm so over
Yeah.
January 6th. Like, can we move on?
Yeah,
But
I mean, I definitely have unpopular opinions about that, and I'm not saying that I think it was okay, but there's, and I think right now with the Supreme Court, we're seeing that like the way that the January 6th thing kind of ended up being twisted a little bit on both sides, like it
mhm.
wasn't right on. There was a lot of like,
It's here well, it's all
yeah, right,
hearsay.
exactly. All right, so presidential debate, Trump.
Alright, so from the let's see.
It says there was more than 30 false claims per CNN. So let me see
Mhm.
what are you telling me? What's false? Okay. Trump's claim about killing babies. Yep. Nonsense, they're saying. Illegal in all 50 states.
Immigration, jobs, crime, healthcare, yeah, January 6th,
Yep.
obviously. Uh, Presidential rankings, that I do know, like, the worst presidential rankings. I think he was saying, like, Biden has the worst presidential rankings, which isn't
Yeah.
true, surprisingly. Yeah.
Okay, this is the thing that because I did hear on the news. I have the news playing all day long. I'm at home with
Mhm.
my daughter, who is almost 10 months old. So I have the news on all day long for noise, and I did hear them talking about that was the one that was really getting me. The Trump on Democrats and abortion, and this is Virginia Governor Ralph Northam. That's who he was speaking about specifically. It's prohibited. I don't know what he was referring to, so maybe it is right. I mean, that's the thing is, I think that I think that
I mean, that's just the common thing that we like to throw around, right? Is the scare tactic about abortion. It's just we want to try to get that control, and that's the way we're doing it is through
so, but like
abortion.
that's a good point. Okay, and I don't understand. Like we're getting heavy on day one here with this podcast, but
Mhm.
and I
I know
yeah,
we went right
we
in,
did we
right
didn't
in.
graze over it. So I think that okay, don't come at me, world. I think that Trump made a valid point. And I think that when we're talking a lot about abortion, just generally speaking, I was just talking to my sister the other day, and she was like, "Oh, well, now basically, you abortions are something that you can't get access to. Women's health care you can't get access to because of this, situation." She's referring to
Mhm.
abortion. Okay, so what that Supreme Court decision did was give control over that aspect, abortion, women's health, however you want to phrase it, to the states. So it's a state right.
Correct.
So it didn't definitely did not say you can't have an abortion, it's illegal, it's gonna go, we're
Right.
going, but everyone's saying we're going back in time. I don't get that. So the concept, right, is that in the Constitution there is nothing speaking very specifically to uh, abortion. There's just not, because it wasn't
Mhm.
something that, it was very different times, right? And it wasn't in there. And so
Right.
what the Supreme Court said was, yeah, it has to go back to the states. The states get to make that decision. The states get to make decisions on a lot of things, and I think the states should make decisions on a lot of things, because why? Going full circle, um, local government, right? We just talked about that. Like, you have so much more influence on your local government and your county government and your state government.
Right.
Like, the presidential debate talking about abortion, it's up here, like it's way up here, right? Versus, your town, where do you want to live, where you do live.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe like hate mail on day one, but like I think it makes sense to me. I think it should be something that the states should have access, or the ability to decide.
Well, and going back to, your local governments, right, deciding, take this into consideration. In
Mhm.
Arizona, they signed into law a near total abortion ban, repealing a 1864
Mhm.
law. So basically, they cited this law that went back to them sitting in, like, a bar,
Mhm.
brothel, and they're, like, tapping glasses, and they're like, "Oh, those whores, let's not give them any
No,
rights."
that's probably
So,
that's
I
probably
mean,
exactly what they said back in that time. Yeah, you're
right.
right.
So now in 2024, we're citing these laws and things from 1864. And I'm not just like this goes far beyond even just abortion, because we're doing it in many different ways. I mean, we just took away plastic bags a couple years ago in New York,
Yeah.
and are now forced to use paper bags. It's
Or
absurd.
never bring them and watch everything roll around in your car, which
Well,
is how I prefer to do it.
I was just at Walmart the other day, and I learned they reinstated the paper bags too.
I
I
see a
was
lot of paper
very
bags,
thrilled.
and you know what? I started shopping at Target because they give me a paper bag and it's free. That's why I go there now.
Well, not only that, they do the recyclable, like, cloth bags.
They
They're
are
so much
nice.
better.
I have a stash of those. I don't
Uh-huh.
bring them to the grocery store, but I have
Never.
them.
I mean, if they'll make it to the grocery store usually in my trunk.
I don't even bother anymore. I give up. But okay, so Arizona, 1864, brothels and whores. I'm back with you. Without revealing my position on abortion, because I'm actually not going to do that, because then I would get like haters like at the front door.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I am literally just playing devil's advocate.
Well, we're women, so obviously
Yeah,
we're pro-life,
right,
obviously,
exactly.
so
We can only
we're
be,
feminists and we're
yeah.
pro-life and yeah.
So no, I my question would be playing devil's advocate, which I think I just lost my train of thought. Um, oh no,
Sorry.
okay. I'm not saying that this is right. I'm posing the question. So,
Mhm.
what about the argument that in some of those cases that you mentioned, that the concern from one side, right, is that the fetus, zygote, unborn baby, right? They're saying it is a baby, right? There is a point
Mhm.
at which, and I can't tell you when, I don't know it. There's a point at which,
I'm not a doctor or
nope,
scientist,
nope.
nope.
I'm not even a philosopher because that's where you're really getting into it. When does it become like,
Nope,
I don't know.
or a
Yeah,
witch.
or
No.
well, I'm a little bit. um, yeah,
The
you're
bee.
right. That's it. So when, I mean, the concern is like, okay, so it wasn't a wanted pregnancy, right? And
Right.
so, but it is still a baby. How do what is the response to that? Because I don't know what the response to that is. There's a point at which it's a baby. There's a point at which, some people don't believe that it is a baby, right? And
Mhm.
where's the line? I don't know. I don't know.
Right, and then you'll have the people that obviously are just gonna yell, "Well, you can give it up for
Right.
adoption, and there's options." And I just saw I follow I don't know if you're on social media with, the national children that get stolen or kidnapped or
You're just
lost, but, I follow along because I have children and it's something that
Yeah,
terrifies
so
me,
I would not
and
wanna
there's
look
just a
at
little
that, but okay, yeah.
yeah,
You
well,
have to, I know, yeah.
honestly honestly, I'm on it because locally, we just had a little boy go missing a week or 2 ago, so I started
Yeah,
following the page
it's
because of that.
shocking.
Um but just posted on there is a little baby, and they are looking for the family. They're not looking for the baby. They found the baby. Just they found the
Is
baby
this
like
the
on the street
Oh,
somewhere.
no, this is not the same one I'm thinking of. Okay, continue.
No, they just so this baby was
Mhm.
abandoned. And it honestly, based on the photos, I mean, I don't know the child, I don't know the family, but based on the photos, it looks like it was well taken care of. So, did the mother decide I can't do it anymore and just left it somewhere and didn't know that this city had safe haven laws that they could drop the baby off at, a fire department, a police department, a hospital?
Yeah.
And that's an argument that a lot of people are having now too is, you have to, when you go to the doctor, learn all about abortion and learn all about adoption, but they don't tell you about safe haven.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I've never heard of that. I'm No,
No, they didn't tell me about
no,
safe haven.
no. Well, you know what? I mean, I could see, I think that the one side or another would make the argument that, carrying that baby to full term would be like a significant burden on the mother, right? So I can see, uh, it's a challenging topic, and I think
Yeah.
there's a lot to discuss that I just don't feel like is being talked about. I think
No.
we're talking at like a high level, and I think that there's probably common ground for the moderate people, and I think the moderate people are like a huge majority compared to like there's people that think,
Oh yeah.
from day one it's a baby, and there's people that think maybe too far along, right, is okay, or whatever circumstances. There's definitely there's a wild swing, but I think that the majority of people are definitely somewhere in the middle, and they can probably find common ground. And I just don't think that we're talking about the points that would help us get there. That's my opinion.
Let me ask you this. Do you think the people in the middle have kind of given up?
I think from yeah, on every topic, not just this one. This
Yeah.
is
No,
yeah,
I agree
on every.
on every topic.
And
Yeah.
I talk to my husband all the time. I say to him, at work, he's talking about something going on at work, and I say, well, why did you let somebody think that you did the thing that you didn't do? Oh, who did this thing? He's like, oh, I didn't do it, but he thinks it was me. Whatever, no big deal. Like, but you can't not say something, right? Like,
Right.
you can't be the quiet person all the time. You can't not say something because it does affect
I
you.
know.
Right, right.
Oh, I know that all too well.
Right, right, exactly. You can't be the quiet person all the time. You can't come up on every topic and stand on your soapbox, but eventually you really do,
Right.
because we're not crazy lunatics. No.
Well, it's
Yeah. Yeah.
exhausting.
Yeah.
It's exhausting on
Yeah.
both ends to ignore it and
Yeah.
to deal with it. It's
Yeah. Well, I
exhausting.
think that a lot of it too is that like the people that are a little wild, right? Because we know that they're out there. There's people that are pretty wild about this stuff, and they're gonna
Oh, yeah.
yell from the mountaintops. And sometimes when somebody
Every
yells,
time.
right, you're just like, I'm not gonna yell over you. And that's the only people that are being heard, are the people that are yelling wildly. And the normal people in the middle are just getting passed over because it's like, I got to go to work in the morning. right? I
Right.
gotta get up. I got a family
And
to
nothing's
feed.
gonna change, and I have to feed
Yep.
my kids
Yep.
and keep the
Yep.
roof over
There's
my head.
there's
Right,
immediate things
exactly.
going on here that are really my primary concern. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's
Absolutely.
everything. I think that's everything across
Yeah.
the board with regard to politics. So there's a
Well, I don't think that's everything, but I think we touched on a little bit of it.
we went deep. We went deep on day
Oh,
one.
first
Yeah.
day. Whew, I'm hot.
Maybe we'll save this for episode two. We'll re-record for number one. Oh man, don't release my name.
We're pseudo-names
Yeah,
now. We won't release video.
exactly, exactly. Well, hey, if we wanted to really get people's attention, that was the way to do it, right?
No
Yeah, yeah.
kidding.
All right. Well,
You wanna end it with some talk about, 4th of
yeah,
July?
let's go a little lighter, maybe. 4th of July. Yeah. Well, what's everybody doing? I know everybody's talking about. Listen, I don't know. Every day, every holiday, record travelers, record,
Mm,
lines at the airport. I'm not going on a plane. I'm not around this time.
no. Listen, I am once again, I'm not doing it, but I am debating going down to the city for the fireworks. I so badly it's on my bucket list. I really so I don't wanna, like, sit in the field and, like, I wanna go on a boat and watch them from the boat in New York
Can I
City.
tell you that is awesome? And also, I did that. I had no control over. I had no control over, and I don't do fun
Of
things
course you
anymore.
did.
That was in the
Well, we don't because
no,
we're
right, exactly.
moms.
Fun is a distant memory. But and I was honestly, I wasn't even I can't take any credit. Back in the year 2000, so a few years ago, and I didn't have any control over
That's
my
a
life.
long ass
Yep.
time
But
ago.
remember, like,
Jeez.
in the year 2000, it was like a big deal to have all the I don't know, everything. So we went
Yeah.
to July 4th in New York Harbor, and we took the trawler. My parents had a trawler, and my dad went. It was like it's like, by the way, from where we are, it's like a 3-day trip because a trawler is a boat that sits very low in the water. It doesn't get up on plane, which is how you get fast moving. Like you get up on plane and you
Hmm.
like zip, right? Trawlers don't do that. Trawlers, they stay low and they're very stable. They're very like seaworthy, but they don't move. So they go like, I mean, you're maxing out at 12 knots. Ours didn't even do 12 knots. There's some like, based on how big the boat is or whatever, is how fast they'll go. Ours did, I think, max speed, like full steam ahead was like 10 knots. And we did not do 10 knots because,
Well,
so we did
no.
like seven, maybe.
Yeah, with
Yeah. Well,
children.
well,
Yeah.
10 knots, by the way, is very slow. It's very, you could probably like
Mm.
swim along the boat for at 7 knots for at least a time, like 7 knots is
For a
very
little bit.
slow. Somebody should like look it up. I don't know what it is. I think it's like I don't remember. There's I think a nautical mile is like 1.2 regular miles or something. I don't remember how it goes, but 7 knots is super slow. And it took us like 2 or 3 days to go all the way down there. We got into the harbor. Never in my life have I been seasick, by the way. Do you
Ooh.
ever get seasick?
No,
Okay. All right.
thankfully.
So then you'll be
Mm-mm.
okay. But
That's the
yeah,
one thing,
yeah, yeah.
thankfully.
So I've never been seasick in my life. We grew up on boats, and we got down there, and like these huge, huge barges and everything else is going through, and we're just trekking along at our little 7 knots. This trawler, and they rock a lot.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
telling you, we're on the upper deck, and you could reach your hand out and you could touch the sea from the upper deck. And I've never.
That sounds
Oh,
terrifying.
that first and only time I've ever gotten seasick. Everybody on the boat got seasick. Everybody, because we were just rocking and rolling.
For 3 days,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
no.
no, when we got down there, just
No.
in the harbor, just in the harbor. So it
Oh, okay.
was, yeah,
That's
and it was
fair.
while everybody was like kind of getting to where they needed to be. So it was really wild. I don't know if this podcast is really gonna care about my experience, but it was pretty cool. And then the fireworks were pretty amazing. And
Of
yeah,
course
it
they
was
are.
really. I mean, it was just like a
Gosh.
huge, huge thing that So that was. I guess after that, it's all just fireworks.
Well, fine, you got to do the fireworks, but I got to do the New York City,
Times Square.
ball
Yes, you
drop.
did. Yep,
Yeah,
you
ball
did that.
drop, and I highly do not
Yep.
recommend it.
Yeah. Well, wait.
Ever.
Now, when did you do that? I can't remember.
Also in the 2000s, well, 2000 I was in college, so 2007-ish? I don't know. Um, It was horrible. It was every type of precipitation ever.
Oh,
It rained, it snowed, it
oh
sleeted,
no.
it was cold. We had a connection with the NYPD because one of the guys I was with, his brother was NYPD. So we lucked out and were able to like get there later than everybody else and still get a good
Oh,
spot,
good.
which was at 3 p.m.
And then you can't leave, right? You can't go somewhere to use the
You
bathroom or yeah.
no, there are
Yeah.
no bathrooms. You cannot leave. You couldn't even leave after the ball dropped, to be honest with you. We we jumped barricades to get back to the train because you couldn't even leave after
Oh
midnight
god.
because it was still
Yeah.
shut down. We were like, yeah, we're
Ugh.
done. Like we're done. By 8 we were
Yeah.
done. So at midnight we were
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
done. So the only way I would do that again is in a hotel in Times Square,
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
watching from
But
above, like at a
so
party.
how did you get home? Because now if you can't leave it till
Train.
where were you going to? Were you going
So, well, I was in college, so I was in
Oh,
college
so
in
you're going
Connecticut, so it was a
okay.
very easy, yeah, Grand
'Cause
Central,
I'll tell
boom.
you, I worked in the city for briefly, and I know that you can't miss the last train going to the Hudson Valley. You
Oh, no, we were
can't.
sitting on the floor, let me
Yeah,
tell you. It was
yeah.
a
Oh,
packed
yeah?
train, we were jumping
Nice.
barricades, and we were sitting on the floor, and
Wow.
let me tell you, it was a gross train,
Oh,
you know those Metro
yeah,
North
yeah,
trains,
yeah.
they are nasty,
Definitely.
but we did not
No,
care because we were already
from
nasty
being
from,
around
like, the
every
snow
yeah.
and
Oh, and
yeah.
you must have been so cold. I've heard that it's
Oh,
horrible.
yeah.
Everybody that does it says,
Yeah.
like, "No, don't do it." And I don't understand those
No.
people when the ball drops in New York City and they're still, like, fresh as a daisy, like, making out on camera, and I'd be like, "Get
No.
off me,
No.
like, back."
No. And I could like Regis, like on he was a
Yeah?
jerk. He was yelling at
Oh,
people.
that's worth
Yeah, oh yeah, it was
knowing.
awesome.
That's worth
Yeah,
knowing.
he was. They like accidentally left his mic on at one point. He was like yelling at people. That was really
Hot
funny.
mic.
POD they were a
Uh,
mess. Like, Mary J. Blige was a
oh, like,
mess.
wasted?
Like it was no, she said well
Yeah.
POD yes. I'm sorry, not POD. Puddle of Mud.
Ah,
Wrong band.
ah,
My bad. Mary J.
that's
Blige
what I wanna know about.
could not sing. She was off the entire like, all over the
Really?
place. Mariah Carey was there too. She performed right in front of us
I
because we were in front of
love
MTV.
Mariah Carey. I love Did you
Yeah.
hear her?
I mean, she performed.
Yeah.
She didn't I mean, she doesn't really sing, like, she
Don't
doesn't
dash
because
my
where she
dreams.
was well, they can't because of where they're performing, it's just they're
I
lip
didn't put it
syncing,
together.
so
Call me naive. I'm really
yeah.
disappointed. You probably could have
So
just not ever told me that.
but I was impressed with how, like, she must have been
Mm.
freezing with, like, what she was wearing. You
Oh.
know, the little skimpy dress,
Ah,
and
you
I'm
remember
like,
those
"I'm
days. Come
cold."
on.
Of course I do. Of course I do. I look back I'm wearing this now, and I'm like, "Oh, man, 10 years
Oh,
ago,
yeah, I
I'm
think
wearing
I've
long
never
sleeves."
seen
I'd been
that
like
collar on you, like
I know. And long
Yeah, oh,
sleeves?
no. No, no.
I'd be
Oh, yeah,
suffocating.
you can't breathe. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's funny. Well, alright, well,
Oh,
we've
man.
relived some of the best moments of our lives. I guess, here's to, July 4th, 2024.
You've been listening to the History Last Week with Mollie and Rachel.